Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we turn our attention to a most practical matter. It is one thing to imagine wealth, success, and freedom, but another to master the inner state that is never shaken by insult, opposition, or provocation. I tell you, if you do not rule your own temper, you will be ruled by the opinions of others. If you allow the words of men to disturb you, you are a servant, not a master. The key to never being angry or bothered by anyone is not found in the outer world. It lies in the inner state, the imaginal act, the awareness of who you really are. Tonight I will give you 10 steps, 10 living principles that if you apply, you will walk through this world untouchable, calm, and free. 1. The origin of anger. My friends, tonight we must go to the very root of this matter. If you are to master yourself, if you are to rise above every insult, every criticism, every disturbance of the mind, you must understand where anger begins. For if you cannot trace a thing to its source, you will never free yourself from its grasp. Anger is not born in the outer world. No one has the power to put anger inside you. Anger begins within, and it is always a symptom of forgetting who you really are. Let me repeat it. Every time you feel angry, every time you feel provoked, it is not because of the other person, but because you have momentarily accepted a false idea of yourself. You see, when you know yourself to be imagination, the operant power, how could the words of another disturb you? How could the insults of men find a resting place in your mind? They can only do so if you descend into the belief that you are small, limited, and powerless. The root of anger, then, is not their words, but your identification with the little self. I once said to a student, "Tell me, why did his words offend you?" She answered, "Because he said I was foolish." I said, "But do you believe yourself to be foolish?" She said, "Of course not." Then I asked, "If you do not believe it, why then were you hurt?" And she saw it. She was hurt because in that instant, she wavered. She doubted her own self-image. She considered, if only for a moment, that his judgment might be true. The wound was not inflicted by him, but by her own acceptance of the lie. This is the great secret. No insult, no criticism, no attack can touch you unless you first agree with it. It requires your consent. Anger arises only when you have lent your power to the opinion of another. Now let us consider this deeply. When a child is called weak by a stranger, he does not always respond with anger. He may even laugh, for he has not yet invested authority in the opinion of that stranger. But if the same word comes from his father or his teacher, he may weep. The word is the same, but the child has granted authority to the speaker. He has clothed the words with power in his own imagination, and thus the words pierce him. So I tell you, no word has power, no insult has weight, only your acceptance gives it strength. If you refuse to agree, it dies instantly. Do you recall the story of Jesus before Pilate? Pilate asked him many questions, and yet he remained silent. He did not defend himself. He did not justify. Why? Because he knew the truth of his being. No word spoken against him could alter who he was. His silence was not weakness. It was absolute mastery. For the man who knows himself need not react. I say to you, anger is the cry of the unawakened self. It is the child stamping its foot because it has forgotten it is heir to the kingdom. To be free of anger is not to suppress it, but to see clearly that it has no foundation in truth. Think of this in your daily life. A man insults you in the street. Another criticizes your work. A relative questions your choices. In that moment, what rises in you? Do you burn with the need to defend? Do you feel the urge to prove them wrong? That fire is anger, and it shows that you are giving their words authority. But when you know yourself to be imagination, the creator of all that you experience, then their words are powerless. You can look at them as shadows on the wall, echoes of passing states, and remain unmoved. Anger is born of identification with weakness. If you see yourself as small, you will always react. If you see yourself as great, you will never need to. The lion does not turn when the small dog barks. And so if you know yourself as imagination, you will not descend to answer every word. Let me take you deeper. What is the true cause of anger? It is wounded pride. It is the little I saying, "They have not recognized me, they have not respected me, they have not given me my due." And so the I shouts, "I must defend myself." But who is this I? It is not the eternal self. It is the temporary mask you wear. If you cling to the mask, you will forever be offended. But if you rest in the awareness of your true self, you will never again be touched. Consider this. When you dream at night, characters in your dream may insult you. They may threaten you, but when you wake, do you carry anger into the morning? No, you laugh, for you know it was only a dream. I tell you, this waking world is no different. It too is imagination. If you know this, why then will you be bothered by dream figures? Why will you let them disturb your peace? So the origin of anger lies in ignorance, ignorance of your true being. And the cure is remembrance, remembrance that you are imagination, the operant power, the one who creates reality. The next time you feel anger rising, pause and ask yourself, what lie have I believed about myself? What small image am I clinging to? For the moment you return to the truth, anger dissolves like mist in the sun. My friends, understand this well. Anger is not strength, anger is weakness, masquerading as force. True strength is stillness, calm, unshakable certainty. The one who rules his own spirit is mightier than he who conquers a city. For the city may fall today and rise tomorrow, but the self who is master of his own temper is free forever. Therefore, the beginning of mastery is to recognize anger for what it is, a signal that you have forgotten yourself. And the first step toward freedom is not to fight anger, not to suppress it, but to see through it, to know this anger has no reality. It arises only because I have accepted a false image. The moment you see this, you are free. So I say, do not blame the world for your temper. Do not say, he made me angry. No man can make you angry unless you first give him power. Reclaim that power. Stand in the awareness that you are imagination, and anger will lose its root. This is the origin of anger, and this is the beginning of victory. To know that it comes not from them, but from you. And if it comes from you, then you can change it. You can choose to no longer accept the lie. You can choose to remain in peace. And that choice, once made, is the seed of absolute mastery. But the world is mirror. My friends, now that we have traced anger to its root, let us take the next step. If you would live untouched by the words of others, if you would never again be disturbed or thrown into reaction, you must understand the principle of reflection. For the world is a mirror, and it reflects nothing but yourself. Do not think I speak in metaphor alone. I mean it literally. The conditions of your life, the characters who appear, the words spoken to you, the treatment you receive, all these are the outpicturing of your own states of consciousness. The outer world is nothing but yourself pushed out. When a man insults you, you are tempted to say, he is cruel, he is unjust. But I say, look deeper. Why has this insult appeared in your world? Why has this man crossed your path in this way? It is because of the state you occupy within yourself. The outer world is always the reflection of the inner man. If you walk in a state of inferiority, life will send you those who belittle you. If you secretly harbor resentment, life will give you endless occasions to be offended. If you live with self-condemnation, others will condemn you. The mirror cannot reflect what is not already there. Do not run from this truth. It is the key to freedom. The moment you accept that the world mirrors your inner state, you cease blaming others. You stop saying, he made me angry, she provoked me. Instead you say, I have met my own reflection. And once you accept this, you can change it. Let me illustrate. A gentleman once came to me, furious at his employer. He said, Neville, my boss, humiliates me before the staff. He mocks my ideas. He belittles me at every turn. I cannot endure it. I said, tell me honestly, how do you see yourself in relation to him? He answered, I see myself as beneath him, dependent on him, afraid of losing my position. I told him, there is your answer. You are imagining yourself small, and so he must play the part of one who makes you feel small. Change your state, and he will change his role. The man left doubtful, but he tried. He began to imagine himself confident, secure in his abilities, respected by all. Each night before sleep, he revised the day. Instead of hearing insults, he imagined hearing words of praise. Instead of seeing himself belittled, he saw himself honored. And within weeks, the entire relationship transformed. The employer who once mocked him began to treat him with respect. The mirror had changed because the image within had changed. Do you see? The world cannot insult you unless you first hold the image of one who can be insulted. It cannot reject you unless you imagine yourself rejected. Every outer word, every outer act is the echo of your inner speech. Now you may ask, but Neville, what of the random cruelty of strangers? What of the words of those I do not know? To this I answer, even the stranger is drawn into your world by the state you occupy. Nothing comes by accident. If a stranger insults you, look within. Somewhere in your inner conversations, you have allowed the thought of being unworthy. or the fear of being mocked. The world faithfully reflects it back. This truth, though hard at first, is the door to mastery. For if the world is your mirror, then no one holds power over you. You need not beg others to change. You need only change yourself, and the mirror must follow. Think of a man who stands before a mirror scowling. He does not try to change the reflection by smoothing the glass. He changes his own face, and instantly the reflection alters. So it is with life. Do not waste energy trying to correct the outer. Correct the inner, and the outer must conform. I tell you, the insult is not against you. It is a picture of you. If it angers you, it is because it has found something in you to agree with. If you are unmoved, it is because there is nothing in you to sustain it. Do not condemn the mirror. Transform the self it reflects. This is why I say, anger is foolishness. To be angry with the world is to be angry with a mirror. Imagine a man shouting at his reflection for looking old, while refusing to change himself. That is what you do when you quarrel with others. They are only reflecting you. But hear me well. This truth is not to condemn you, but to liberate you. If you dislike the reflection, you can change. The power is always in you. The mirror cannot resist. It must obey. Now let us apply this practically. When someone insults you, pause before reaction. 3. The power of indifference. My friends, having seen that anger begins within and that the world is only a mirror of self, let us now step into the higher practice, the art of indifference. For if you would never again be shaken by insult or disturbed by offense, you must learn this. True mastery is indifference to the storm. Now when I speak of indifference, I do not mean coldness. I do not mean apathy or the lifeless spirit that cares for nothing. No, I mean the calm certainty of the man who knows his power. Indifference is not the absence of love. It is the absence of fear. It is the composure of one who rests so firmly in his own state that no outer word can stir him. Picture the sea on a calm morning. The wind may blow lightly, but the waters remain untroubled. So it is with the man who has mastered indifference. Words may fly about him like wind, but his inner being is undisturbed. Now consider the opposite. A man without this power. Every word cuts him. Every slight throws him into turmoil. He is restless, angry, defensive, always reacting to the world. Such a man is a slave, not a master. He has placed his peace in the hands of others, and so he lives in chains. The power of indifference is the power to remain free no matter what men may say or do. It is the ability to walk through this world untouched, carrying within you a peace that cannot be broken. Let me share an example. A woman once came to me distressed beyond measure. She said, "Neville, my neighbor slanders me. She spreads lies about my family. I cannot sleep for anger." I asked her, "Why do her words trouble you?" She said, "Because they are false, and I must defend my name." I told her, "If you know them to be false, why then defend? Truth requires no defense. Be indifferent to her words, and they will lose all power. For the only life they have is the life you give them through your reaction." She listened, though unwillingly, for she wanted me to agree with her anger. Yet she tried. Each time she heard the gossip, she said to herself, "It is nothing. It touches me not." She refused to engage, refused to argue, refused to dwell upon it, and within weeks the gossip died away. Her neighbor grew silent, for there was no longer fuel to feed the fire. The woman learned that indifference is stronger than argument. You see, my friends, words have no life of their own. They are shadows. They are smoke. They pass unless you grasp them. If you take hold of them, if you nurse them, they grow strong. But if you let them pass as the wind, they vanish into nothingness. This is the essence of indifference. Now some will say, "But Neville, is it not weakness to remain silent? Should we not fight for our honor?" I tell you no. To react is weakness. To be unmoved is strength. The strong man has no need to prove himself. The lion does not answer the barking dog. His majesty is in his silence. Think of the master before his accusers. He did not defend. He did not resist. He stood in silence. Why? Because he knew who he was. No accusation could alter his being. That silence was not defeat. It was the supreme demonstration of power. So I urge you, stop fighting shadows. Stop wasting energy on the words of men. Learn the art of indifference. When the insult comes, let it pass. When the criticism rises, let it fall. Say within yourself, "I remain unmoved," for you know that the only reality is your inner state, and no outer word can touch it. Let me give you a practice. Tonight, imagine yourself in a storm. The winds blow, the thunder roars, the lightning strikes, yet you stand still. You are unmoved, untouched, calm in the center of the storm. Feel that calmness until it is yours. Then carry it into your waking life. Whatever words come, whatever scenes appear, remain as that calm center. This is the practice of indifference. And do you know the beauty of it? When you cease to react, the insults cease to appear. When you are indifferent, the mirror changes. The world no longer sends you quarrels, for there is no state in you to receive them. Life reflects your calmness, and men treat you with the respect you silently assume. But if you react, if you fight, you only multiply the occasions for anger. For what you resist, indifference, therefore, is not passivity. It is mastery. It is the refusal to give life to the very things you wish to escape. Do not think this is easy. At first, you will feel the old habit rise, the urge to strike back, to defend, to prove. But if you will only pause and remember, I need not react. I am imagination. I create my world. Then the urge will fade. Each victory will strengthen you, until at last you can walk untouched through any storm. I tell you, the man who has mastered indifference is the freest man alive. He fears no insult, for none can reach him. He dreads no criticism, for he does not live by the opinions of men. He stands in his own state, serene, unshakable, untouchable. This is true liberty. So tonight make this vow. I will no longer waste energy on reaction. I will not surrender my peace to the words of others. I will stand indifferent, calm, and free. And if you keep this vow, you will discover a strength greater than anger, a peace deeper than silence, a freedom that no man can take from you. The world is a storm. Men will speak. They will criticize. They will provoke. But you, if you know the secret, will walk through it as though it were nothing. For you have discovered the power of indifference, and that power is the beginning of unshakable mastery. 4. Revision of offense. My friends, we have spoken of the origin of anger and the mirror of the world. We have seen the strength that lies in indifference, yet there remains another great key, one that I have shared with you many times. The art of revision. For if you would never again be haunted by offense, if you would walk in peace even after insult has been given, then you must learn to revise. What is revision? It is the deliberate recreation of the past. It is the power to change in imagination what has already occurred in experience, and thereby change its effect upon you. Most men believe the past is fixed, that once a word is spoken or a deed is done, it must forever remain. I tell you, nothing is fixed, for the past itself is but imagination. If you will alter it in imagination, its fruit in the present will vanish. Let me explain. Suppose today someone insulted you. You felt the sting of their words, and anger rose in you. Most men would carry that anger into the night. They would lie in bed replaying the insult, reliving the pain, arguing in imagination with the offender, and so the wound deepens, and tomorrow the same pattern repeats. But you, knowing the law, may do otherwise. Tonight before sleep you may take that scene and revise it. Instead of hearing words of insult, you hear words of kindness. Instead of seeing yourself humiliated, you see yourself honored. You rewrite the script in imagination until it feels natural, until the offense has vanished. Then you sleep in that revised state. Do this faithfully, and you will find the anger dissolves. The memory itself changes. Soon you cannot recall the insult, for it no longer exists in your inner world. You are free. I once knew a man who quarreled with his business partner. Harsh words were spoken, and bitterness set in. He came to me troubled, unable to focus, consumed with resentment. I said to him, each night before you sleep, take that quarrel and revise it. Hear your partner speak words of harmony. Imagine the handshake of reconciliation. Do this until you feel the joy of peace. He protested. But Neville, it is a lie. He never said those words. I answered, it matters not what he said. What matters is what you accept as real in imagination. For imagination creates reality. If you persist in revising, the outer world must conform. Reluctantly he obeyed. For weeks he revised the quarrel each night. At first, his mind fought him. The memory of the harsh words returned with force, but he persisted. Slowly the new scene grew natural. Then one day his partner approached him, apologized, and suggested they work together anew. The man was astonished, but I was not, for I know that when you revise the inner, the outer must follow. So I tell you, no offense need linger, no insult need fester. If you revise, you erase. You free yourself from the burden of anger, Consider what happens when you do not revise. You carry the insult in memory, you brood upon it, you rehearse it again and again, and each rehearsal deepens the wound, until anger becomes bitterness, and bitterness becomes hatred. Soon your whole being is poisoned by a single word spoken long ago. But when you revise, you break the chain, you refuse to relive the offense, you replace it with harmony, and so you walk free, untouched by the past. This is not denial, it is creation. You are not pretending the offense did not happen, you are choosing a higher truth. You are saying, I am not bound by what was, I am free to create what is. And as you persist, the outer world will align with your new inner state. Now let me make this practical. Tonight, take one offense from your past. Perhaps it was today, perhaps years ago. Recall it vividly. Hear the words, see the faces, feel the sting, then gently change it. Replace the insult with praise. Replace the quarrel with peace. Replace the rejection with acceptance. Do this until the new scene feels real. Then fall asleep in that feeling. Repeat it night after night until the old memory fades. Soon you will discover that anger no longer rises when you think of that person. The wound has healed. You are free. And something more will happen. The outer relationship will change. The person who once offended you may approach with kindness. Circumstances will shift to reflect your revision. For the world is yourself pushed out. And when you change the inner script, the outer actors must play their new roles. You may say, but Neville, what if the person is far away? What if they never speak to me again? I tell you, it matters not, for the true work is not in them, but in you. When you revise, you release yourself. Whether they appear or not, your heart is free, and that freedom is worth more than any apology. I recall a lady who carried anger toward her sister for many years. They had quarreled in youth, and though they lived in different cities, the bitterness remained. I taught her to revise. Each night she imagined her sister embracing her, speaking words of love. At first, she wept, for the memory of the quarrel was strong, but she persisted. In time, the anger faded, replaced by peace. One day, without any contact, her sister wrote to her after 20 years of silence, asking for reunion. The outer mirrored the inner. So I say again, revision is the key. Do not carry offenses in memory. Erase them, replace them, rewrite them in imagination, until only harmony remains. Then anger will have no root in you. And let me remind you, revision is not for great offenses only. Use it for the small irritations of daily life. If today someone looked at you harshly, revise it. See them smiling. If a friend forgot to greet you, revise it. Hear them speaking kindly. Do this daily, and you will live in a world where no offense can touch you. This practice requires discipline, but it yields freedom. For each night you have the chance to cleanse the day, to wash away every insult, every quarrel, every pain. You need not carry them into tomorrow. You can sleep in peace, knowing that you have rewritten your world. So I say, learn to revise. Do not be the prisoner of memory. Be the master of imagination. Refuse to relive the insult as it was. Relive it as it ought to have been. And as you persist, you will find that anger dissolves, offense vanishes, and you walk in a world of harmony. For imagination creates reality. And when you revise the past, you revise your present and your future. Offense loses all power, for it no longer exists. This is the secret. You are not bound by what was. You are free to create what is. Use this freedom, and you will never again be haunted by offense. Hive living from the end. My friends, we have spoken of the origin of anger, of the mirror of the world, of the power of indifference, and of the art of revision. Yet all of these lead us now to the great principle that underlies every teaching I have ever given you, the necessity of living from the end. If you would never again be disturbed, if you would never again be shaken by the voices of men, then you must not live as one striving to become calm, striving to become free. You must live now as the one who already is calm, who already is free. This is the secret, to assume the state of the man you desire to be and to persist in that assumption until it hardens into fact. When anger rises, you may say to yourself, I wish to be at peace. But wishing will not save you. Wishing is confession that you are not yet what you desire to be. Instead, you must leap over the gap. You must dare to imagine yourself already the serene and unshakable being. You must clothe yourself in that end and walk in it now. Consider the actor upon the stage. He does not say, I will try to become Hamlet. He puts on the costume, assumes the role, and lives from the end of being Hamlet, so too must you put on the costume of serenity. Assume it now, and soon it will be natural. I tell you, the reason men are so easily angered is because they live in the state of the offended one. They imagine themselves small, vulnerable, at the mercy of others, and because they imagine this, they live it. But if you would be free, you must assume the end of being unoffendable. How would such a being feel? How would such a being walk? How would such a being react when insulted? He would not react at all. He would smile perhaps, but he would remain unmoved, for he has assumed the end of calmness and nothing can shake it. So I ask you tonight, can you assume this end? Can you imagine yourself so secure, so rooted in peace, that no word can disturb you? Can you feel that calmness now, even before it appears in fact? If you can, and if you persist, then it must become your reality. Let me give you a practice. Tonight, before you sleep, enter into the scene of being perfectly serene. Imagine yourself in a situation where once you would have been offended. Perhaps someone criticizes you, but instead of reacting, you feel only calmness. You know yourself untouched. You walk away in peace. Enter that scene until you feel the reality of it. Then fall asleep in that state. Do this nightly, and you will condition yourself to live from the end of calmness. One of my students once told me, Neville, I am always losing my temper. I cannot control it. I said, do not try to control it. Instead, assume you are one who never loses his temper. Live from that end. He asked, but how if I know I am angry? I answered, you know you are angry because you are living from the state of anger. But you can leave that state. You can step into the state of calmness. You do it by imagination. Imagine yourself as one who never reacts, who never raises his voice. See yourself already there. Live from that end, and anger will die for lack of attention. He obeyed. Each night he imagined himself calm. Each day he reminded himself, I am the one who is serene. And within weeks his temper faded. The old self dissolved, replaced by the new. He had learned to live from the end. Do you see, my friends? The secret is not to fight anger, not to resist offense, but to assume the end of peace. You are not becoming calm. You are calm now. You are not trying to be free. You are free now. You are not hoping to be strong. You are strong now. When you live from this end, the world mirrors it back. Men cease to insult you, for you no longer dwell in the state of one who can be insulted. Life brings you harmony, for harmony is your inner state. The outer always follows the inner. Now let me warn you. The temptation will be great to return to the old state. The old self will whisper, but I am angry. I must defend myself. Do not listen. Persist in the end. When the old self rises, answer it with the new assumption. I am serene. I am untouchable. I am free. The old self will fade as you persist in the new. This is not self-deception. This is creation. For imagination creates reality. By assuming the end, you call it into being. By living from the end, you bring it forth in fact. Think of the seed planted in the ground. The farmer does not doubt that it will grow. He lives from the end of harvest, even while the field is bare. He knows the end is certain, for the seed has been sown. So too with you. Assume the end of calmness. Sow it in imagination, and live from it. The harvest must appear. Do you not see the beauty of this? You need not wait for the world to change. You need not wait for men to cease insulting you. You need not wait for circumstances to improve. You may live from the end now. You may assume yourself untouchable now, and by this assumption, you bring it into being. Let me give you one more example. A lady once came to me, weary of constant criticism from her family. She said, Neville, they never support me. They belittle my dream. I cannot bear it. I told her, stop waiting for them to change. Assume that you are already honored by them. Live from the end of being respected. She protested, but they do not respect me. I said, that is because you live from the state of being disrespected. Leave that state. Step into the end of honor. Imagine it until it feels real. And persist. She tried. Each night she imagined her family praising her. Each day she walked as one who was honored. Soon the criticism ceased. Her family began to support her. What had happened? She had changed her state, and the mirror of the world reflected it. So I tell you, if you would never again be angered or disturbed, live from the end of being serene. Do not wait for evidence. Assume it now. Walk in it now. Persist, and it will harden into fact. This is the great law. Live from the end. Whatever end you assume, that end you will express. If you live from the end of calmness, calmness will surround you. If you live from the end of peace, peace will fill your days. If you live from the end of freedom,
No man can bind you. So tonight, choose your end wisely. Refuse to live as the offended one. Refuse to live as the angry one. Assume the end of serenity. Clothe yourself in peace. Walk as the unshakable being. And if you persist, you will find that anger cannot rise in you, for you have left that state behind. This is the power of imagination. This is the secret of mastery. Live from the end, and the end will live through you.
6. The refusal to react. My friends, we have spoken of living from the end, of clothing ourselves in serenity, of imagining ourselves untouchable by the words or actions of others. But now we must move to the practical expression of this truth, the refusal to react. For what is anger but a reaction? What is offense but a reaction? What is disturbance but a reaction? If you would be free, you must refuse to react. You must take your attention away from the stimulus and place it upon the reality you desire. Reaction is bondage. Creation is freedom. Every time you react, you are confessing that another has power over you. You are saying, that word, that act, that man has the power to move me. And the moment you confess it, you make it true. But when you refuse to react, when you withdraw your attention, you take back your power. You declare, I am unmoved. I am the operant power. And in that refusal, you rise above circumstance and reveal your true self. Now let me be clear. I am not speaking of suppressing emotion. Suppression is not mastery. Suppression is still reaction. It is reaction hidden. I am speaking of genuine refusal, born of a higher vision, when the world shouts and you smile inwardly, knowing they shout at their own shadow, not at you. That is refusal to react. Let us return to the mirror. Imagine a man stands before the mirror and sees a frown. If he reacts to the frown, if he shouts at it, if he shakes his fist at it, he only multiplies his own distress. But if he refuses to react, if he simply changes his own expression, the reflection must change. Do you see? The mirror cannot be fought. It can only be transcended by changing the self. So it is with life. The outer world is only your reflection. To react to it is to battle shadows. To refuse to react is to remember that only the inner matters. Change the inner and the outer will follow. I once knew a man who was constantly provoked by his employer. Every insult was like fire to him. He told me, Neville, I cannot bear it. My boss controls my moods. He insults me and I am undone. I said to him, only because you choose to react. He has no power save what you give him. If you refuse to react, you will discover he cannot touch you. He asked, but how can I refuse when I feel the sting? I said, you feel the sting because you believe the insult is real. But if you remember the world is your mirror, you will see that the sting is only your own assumption reflected back. Refuse to react, and the reflection must change. He began practicing. Each time the insult came, he paused, withdrew inwardly, and said silently, I am free, I am untouched. This is only my shadow. At first it was difficult. The habit of reaction was strong. But little by little the power returned to him. Within weeks, he reported that the insults had ceased altogether. The employer's attitude had softened, but what had really happened? The man had ceased to react. He had changed himself, and the mirror changed with him. This is what I urge upon you. The refusal to react. Let me show you another angle. When you react, you are living in the past. For all reaction is based on memory, on old assumptions. Someone criticizes you, and you feel pain because you remember a state of being small, of being unworthy. You react because you are still living in that old state. But when you refuse to react, you declare yourself new. You say, I am no longer that man. I am the serene one, the unshakable one. You step into the present, into the state of being you have chosen. Reaction ties you to the past. Refusal frees you into the future. Now some will say, but Neville, if I do not react, am I not being weak? Am I not letting others trample me? No, my friends. Reaction is weakness. Reaction is confession of bondage. Refusal is strength. Refusal is mastery. Refusal says, I know who I am, and nothing outside of me can move me. Think of the ocean. The waves crash. The winds howl. Yet the depths remain unmoved. So too must you live. The surface of life may roar, but if you live from the depth of being, you remain calm. That depth is found in refusal to react. I give you now a practice. Tonight imagine a scene where once you would have reacted.
Perhaps someone insults you or circumstances oppose you. But instead of reacting, you feel only calm. You remain unmoved. You even smile inwardly, knowing it is but a shadow. Enter that scene until it feels real. Repeat it nightly. Soon, when the real moment comes, you will find yourself acting out your rehearsal. Instead of reaction, you will know refusal. Another practice. In daily life, when the impulse to react arises, pause, take a breath, withdraw attention from the outer, turn inward and affirm, I am untouched, I am free. Do this enough times and the habit of reaction will fade. In its place will grow the habit of refusal. One of my dearest students, a woman of quick temper, once told me that this practice transformed her life. She said, Neville, I used to react to everything. Every slight, every rude word. I lived in turmoil, but when I began refusing to react, I discovered a peace I had never known. Now people treat me differently. They respect me. It is as though the whole world has changed. I told her, no, my dear. The world has not changed. You have. And the mirror reflects the change. This is the secret. Refusal to react is not passive. It is creative. For in the moment of refusal, you withdraw attention from what you do not want and place it upon what you desire. You starve the old state and feed the new, and whatever you feed must grow. Let me put it in another way. Anger, offense, disturbance. They live only because you feed them with attention. Reaction is food, but when you refuse to react, you starve them. Starved, they die. In their place grows peace, for peace is what you attend to. So I say practice the refusal to react, not once but daily. Not in great crises only, but in the small irritations of life. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Someone forgets your name. Someone raises their voice. Do not react. Smile inwardly. Say it is only shadow. Each small refusal strengthens your mastery. And when the great test comes, when the insult or injury you once feared arrives, you will find yourself calm. You will find you have become the man who cannot be moved. This, my friends, is true freedom. Freedom is not the power to strike back. Freedom is the power to remain unmoved. Freedom is the refusal to react. So I leave you tonight with this charge. Refuse to react. Withdraw from the shadows. Remember the world is your mirror. Change yourself, and the reflection must change. Feed peace and peace will grow. Persist, and you will find that anger dies of neglect. Offense cannot touch you, and disturbance passes you by. For you have chosen the higher way, the way of refusal.
7. The power of inner dialogue. My friends, if you would never again be disturbed, if you would never again be moved by insult or injury, then you must understand the power of inner dialogue. For the conversations you hold within yourself are the cause of every reaction without. Man thinks his trouble comes from the outer world. He says, I am angry because he spoke those words. I am offended because she treated me so. But I tell you, the words of another cannot disturb you. The treatment of another cannot move you. Only your inner speech, your inner conversation about those words, about that treatment, has power to move you. If you would master yourself, you must master your inner dialogue. Every moment of the day you are talking to yourself. Even now as you listen to me, you are framing replies, forming judgments, holding silent conversations. And these conversations, though unspoken, are creative. They shape your mood, they mold your reactions, they build the world you live in. When a man insults you, the insult ends the moment the sound ceases. But if you carry it within, repeating it in inner dialogue, you give it life. You play it over and over, you rehearse your outrage. You speak angry replies to yourself, and by this inner conversation, you make the insult real. So long as you hold that dialogue, you are chained to reaction. But the moment you change the inner speech, you are free. Let me give you an example. A student once came to me tormented by his colleagues. They mocked him daily, and he lived in constant anger. I asked him, what do you say to yourself after they mock you? He answered, I replay their words. I call them names in my mind. I rehearse what I will say back. I told him, that is why you are angry. The mockery ended when the words ceased, but you keep it alive with your inner speech. Change the dialogue, and you will change the experience. He asked, but how can I change it when their words are so sharp? I said, replace the conversation when they speak, and you would replay the insult
Instead, hear within yourself the words you long to hear. Imagine them praising you. Imagine them honoring you. Hold that dialogue, and you will feel peace. He tried it. At first it seemed absurd. They mocked him outwardly, and he heard praise inwardly, but he persisted. Each time the insult came, he turned within and heard only honor. Within weeks his mood changed. The anger left him, and soon his colleagues began to soften. The outer mirrored the inner. This is the secret. The inner dialogue is the source of all reaction. Change the dialogue, and you change the world. Now let me ask you, what do you say to yourself when insulted? Do you curse them in your mind? Do you repeat the offense? Do you rehearse your anger? If you do, then you feed the fire. But if you will turn within and revise the dialogue, hearing only what you desire, then you will quench the fire. You see, my friends, no man can insult you. Only you can insult yourself by accepting his words in your inner speech. If you reject them inwardly, if you replace them with better words, then you are untouched. Let me show you the depth of this law. Imagine two men are criticized by the same voice. The first accepts it in his inner dialogue. He says to himself, yes, they despise me, I am small. He reacts with pain. The second refuses it. He hears instead, they honor me, I am valued. He reacts with calm. Do you see? The same outer word, yet two different reactions, because of two different inner dialogues. The outer did not cause the reaction. The inner did. Therefore, if you would never again be disturbed, watch your inner speech. Guard it as you would guard treasure. Refuse to hold conversations of anger, of fear, of self-pity. Hold only the dialogue of peace, of honor, of love. One of the greatest powers man possesses is the power of substitution in inner dialogue. When the outer word comes, you need not repeat it inwardly. You may substitute. You may replace insult with praise, rejection with acceptance, hatred with love. And as you persist, the substitution becomes natural. Soon you no longer react at all, for your inner speech has been redeemed. Let me give you another practice. Tonight, as you lie down to sleep, review your day. Notice every moment where you reacted in anger. Recall what you said to yourself in those moments. Then, deliberately replace the inner dialogue. If you replayed an insult, hear instead a compliment. If you cursed inwardly, hear instead a blessing. Rewrite the conversation. Repeat it until it feels real. Then fall asleep. Do this nightly, and soon your inner speech will be transformed. I call this the redemption of conversation. For man lives in a constant stream of inner words, and most of these words are negative, reactive, destructive. But you may redeem them. You may lift them up, and when you do, you lift up your world. I tell you, if you master inner dialogue, you will master your reactions. For no outer word can disturb a man whose inner speech is pure. He lives in a world of his own making, and nothing can touch him. Consider the master himself. When reviled, he reviled not again. When mocked, he answered not a word. Why? Because within himself his inner speech was of love. He heard not the insult, but the deeper truth. His refusal to react was born of pure inner dialogue, and so must yours be. Now some will say, but Neville, is this not delusion? If I hear praise inwardly, when they insult me outwardly, am I not deceiving myself? I tell you, no, you are not deceiving. You are creating. For imagination creates reality. The outer insult is but the shadow of an old state. By changing the inner dialogue, you plant the seed of a new state. Persist, and the shadow must follow. So do not call it delusion, call it creation. You are not denying reality. You are shaping it. My friends, the day you master your inner dialogue is the day you are free. For no man, no word, no circumstance can touch you if your inner speech is pure. You could walk through insult, through injury, through storm and remain calm. For you are not moved by the outer, you are moved only by the inner. This is the true refusal to react, not merely to hold the tongue, but to change the inner speech. To hold silence outwardly, while cursing inwardly, is no mastery, but to replace the curse with blessing, to replace insult with praise, that is mastery. So I urge you, examine your inner dialogue, redeem it, refuse to hold reactive conversations, choose instead creative ones. For the words you speak inwardly are seeds, and the harvest must come. Sow anger and you will reap disturbance. Sow peace, and you will reap serenity. Persist, and soon you will find that the world changes. Men who once insulted you will begin to honor you. Circumstances that once disturbed you will pass you by. Why? Because you have changed your inner dialogue, and the outer must follow. So tonight, choose wisely what you say to yourself, for it is not the words of others that shape your life, but your own. This is the great secret, the power of inner dialogue. Master it and you master yourself. Master yourself and you master the world.
8. Dwelling in silence. My friends, if you would never again be angered, if you would never again be disturbed, you must learn the art of dwelling in silence. For silence is not mere absence of speech. It is the presence of power. It is the foundation of mastery. Men believe silence is emptiness. They think to be silent is to be weak, to be without answer, to be without defense. Yet I tell you, silence is the highest answer, the greatest defense, the truest strength. For when you are silent, you are rooted in being, not in reaction. We have spoken of inner dialogue, and indeed inner speech is the seed of creation. But there is a silence deeper still, the silence where even inner words cease, where you rest in the awareness of being. This silence cannot be offended, cannot be angered, cannot be moved. To dwell in it is to be free. When insult comes, men rush to reply. When injury comes, they rush to protest. When disturbance comes, they rush to complain. They fill the air with words and their hearts with noise. But if you would master yourself, you must dwell in silence. You must refuse to add noise to noise. Imagine a man is insulted. If he replies with anger, the fire grows. If he defends himself, the quarrel deepens. But if he remains silent, the fire dies, for silence has starved it. Silence is the extinguisher of reaction. But I do not mean a bitter silence, the silence of suppressed words. I mean the serene silence of one who knows, this cannot touch me. That silence is not suppression, it is transcendence. Consider the depth of the ocean. The surface may roar with storm, yet in the depths there is stillness. So it must be with you. The surface of life may rage, men may shout, circumstances may howl. But if you dwell in the depth of silence, you remain unmoved. Let me tell you a story. A woman once came to me, tormented by constant criticism in her household. She said, Neville, I argue back, I defend myself, yet the quarrels never end. What am I to do? I told her, stop feeding the fire, enter silence. When the words come, do not reply. Dwell in the silence of knowing who you are. She asked, but will they not think me weak? I answered, no, they will feel your strength. For silence is not weakness. Silence is power. She obeyed. The next time the criticism came, she said nothing. She remained calm, unmoved. At first her family pressed harder, hoping to provoke her, but her silence disarmed them. Soon the criticism faded. Within months peace reigned. She had discovered the strength of silence. Now let me show you why silence is so powerful. Every word spoken outwardly is born of inner energy. When you react with words, you spend that energy outward. You dissipate it. But when you remain silent, you conserve it. You gather it inward, and conserved energy becomes creative power. When you dwell in silence, you do not waste energy on quarrel. You turn it inward to creation. You use it to imagine the state you desire. You feed the new man, not the old. That is why silence transforms life. My friends, silence is not only an outer practice, it is also inner. The greatest silence is when you cease to argue with yourself, when you stop rehearsing insults, stop replaying offenses, stop justifying anger. When you enter that inner stillness, you touch the depth of being, and there no disturbance can live. This is what scripture means when it says, be still and know that I am God. In stillness, in silence, you know your true self, and knowing your true self, you cannot be moved. Let me give you a practice. Each day, set aside a few minutes to dwell in silence. Close your eyes, withdraw from outer senses, let go of inner words, rest in the awareness. Do not add, I am this or I am that. Simply, I am. Rest there. This is the silence of being. At first your mind will protest. It will flood you with thoughts, with arguments, with memories. Do not fight them. Simply let them pass and return to silence. As you persist, the noise will quiet. You will discover a depth of stillness greater than you have ever known. From this silence, when you return to speech, your words will carry power, for they are born of stillness, not of reaction. A single word from silence is stronger than 1,000 words from noise. Another practice, when insult comes, instead of replying, take one silent breath. In that breath, withdraw into silence. Say nothing outwardly. Say nothing inwardly.
Rest in the knowing, this cannot touch me. Soon you will find that the insult passes like smoke, leaving no trace. I tell you, if you master silence, you will master reaction. For reaction is always noisy. Anger shouts, fear complains, offense argues, but silence transcends them all. Silence dissolves them. Do not think silence is emptiness. It is fullness. It is the womb of creation. Out of silence arises all form. Out of stillness comes all power. To dwell in silence is to return to the source. And in the source, no insult can live. Let me show you how silence changes the world. Imagine a quarrel between two men. Both shout, both defend, both argue. The quarrel grows. But if one falls silent, the quarrel collapses. The energy is gone. The other may shout for a time, but soon he tires. Without fuel, the fire dies. Do you see? Silence is stronger than argument. So too in life. When disturbance comes, do not add to it with words, with reactions. Withdraw into silence. The disturbance will pass, for it has nothing to feed on. One of my students once asked, Neville, should I always be silent? Should I never speak? I told him, no, my friend. Speak when the word is born of silence. But if the word is born of reaction, hold it back. For words born of silence create. Words born of noise destroy. Therefore test your speech. Ask yourself, is this word born of silence or of reaction? If of silence, speak it, for it will carry power. If of reaction, swallow it, for it will bind you. My friends, I cannot urge strongly enough the practice of silence. The world today is filled with noise, endless chatter, endless complaint, endless reaction. Men are slaves to words, but you may be free. You may return to silence. And in silence, you will discover who you are. And when you know who you are, nothing can move you. You will walk through insult as through air. You will pass through disturbance as through shadow. For silence will have clothed you in serenity. So I charge you tonight, dwell in silence. Withdraw from noise. Refuse to add to quarrel. Conserve your energy. Rest in the stillness of being. And from that silence, create the world you desire. Persist, and you will find that silence is your shield. Silence is your strength. Silence is your power. For in silence, you are free.
9. The secret of forgiveness. My friends, if you would be free, if you would never again be bound by anger or chained by resentment, you must know the secret of forgiveness. For without forgiveness, there can be no lasting peace, no true freedom, no real mastery of self. Men believe forgiveness is a moral act, a duty imposed upon them by religion or society. They think it means saying, I pardon you, while secretly holding on to the wound. But that is not forgiveness. That is pretense. True forgiveness is not words spoken to another. It is a transformation of your own inner state. Forgiveness is not for the other. It is for you. For as long as you hold resentment, you bind yourself to the very act you hate. As long as you replay the injury, you recreate it in imagination. And imagination creates reality. To resent is to rehearse, and what you rehearse you relive. So forgiveness is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the refusal to rehearse injury, the refusal to relive insult. Forgiveness is the act of releasing yourself. Let me show you how. Suppose someone has wronged you. The natural man rises in protest. He replays the scene. He hears again the words spoken, feels again the sting of the act. He imagines again the injury, and so he keeps alive the very pain he longs to escape. But the awakened man does otherwise. He understands the secret that imagining creates, so he refuses to imagine the wrong again. Instead, he revises it. He reimagines the scene, not as injury, but as blessing. He clothes the other in nobility, sees them acting in kindness, hears them speaking in love, and having revised it, he forgives. This is the true act of forgiveness, not mere pardon, but revision. You change the imaginal act, and in changing it, you free yourself. Scripture says, forgive, and you shall be forgiven. Why? Because what you hold against another, you hold against yourself. Every image you sustain of another is an image sustained in your own mind. And the mind that sustains resentment reaps resentment. The mind that sustains blessing reaps blessing. So forgiveness is simply this. Change your mind about the other. No longer see them as enemy. No longer see them as offender. See them as redeemed, as changed, as kind. And in doing so, you redeem yourself. Let me tell you a story. A man once came to me bitter against his former partner who had cheated him in business. He said, "Neville, I cannot forgive. The loss is too great. The wound is too deep." I told him, "My friend, as long as you refuse to forgive, you bind yourself to poverty. For in your imagination you replay the loss, and imagination creates. You will remain in loss until you release him. Forgive not for his sake, but for yours." I taught him the art of revision. Each night he reimagined the scene. Instead of betrayal, he imagined loyalty. Instead of loss, he imagined profit. Instead of deception, he imagined truth. Within months, his affairs changed. A new partner entered his life, one faithful and true. His business prospered, and he said to me, "Neville, now I see. Forgiveness was never for him. It was for me." This is the power of forgiveness. It liberates you from the prison of resentment and sets you free to create anew. But many ask, "Neville, what if the offense is too great? What if the wrong is beyond imagining?" My friends, nothing is beyond imagining, for imagination is infinite. You are not called to condone the wrong. You are called to transform it. You are not asked to accept the act. You are asked to release its hold upon you. You see, to forgive is not to say, "The wrong was right." No, to forgive is to say, "I will no longer give life to this wrong." By imagining it again, you withdraw attention from it. You refuse to rehearse it. You clothe it in a new imaginal act, and in doing so, you kill it. For nothing lives in your world except by imagination. When you understand this, you see why resentment is poison. Every time you dwell on the wrong, you drink the poison again. You think you are punishing the other, but you punish only yourself. Forgiveness is pouring out the poison, refusing to drink again. So tonight I ask you, whom do you still hold in resentment? Whose image do you still rehearse in anger? Whoever they are, they hold you prisoner until you forgive. Release them and you release yourself. And how do you release? You release through imagination. Revise the scene. Rehear the words. See them differently. Do this until the old image no longer stings. Until when you think of them, you feel only peace. That is forgiveness. Let us take an exercise now. Close your eyes. Bring to mind one who has offended you. See the scene of offense. Feel the wound. Now, change it. Hear them speak differently. See them act kindly. Imagine them smiling with love. Hold that scene until it feels natural. That is forgiveness in action. If you persist, you will discover that resentment dissolves. The old wound heals. And strangely, the outer world may change as well. The one who wronged you may change in behavior, or they may pass out of your life. But in either case, you are free. And know this, forgiveness is not a one-time act. It is a daily practice. Each night as you fall asleep, review the day. If anyone offended you, revise it before sleep. Imagine it as though it had not happened, or as though it had happened differently. Go to sleep with a heart cleansed of resentment. Do this and you will live free. This is why I say forgiveness is the secret. For without it, you carry the weight of yesterday into today. You bind tomorrow with the chains of the past. But with it, you are free each moment to create anew. Do you see now why Scripture tells us 70 times 7 you must forgive? It does not mean to keep count. It means forgiveness must be continual, without limit, for creation is continual, and imagination never ceases. If you do not forgive continually, you recreate the past continually. So my friends, let us tonight make forgiveness our way of life, not as duty, not as burden, but as liberation. Let us forgive, not with words, but with imagination. Let us revise the past, that we may release the future. For in truth, to forgive another is to forgive yourself, for there is no other. All that you hold against another, you hold within yourself. Forgive them, and you free yourself. So tonight, if you would be free of anger, learn the art of forgiveness. Revise the past. Refuse to rehearse the wrong. Clothe every man in nobility. See every act redeemed, and you will walk in freedom. This, my friends, is the secret of forgiveness. 10. The fulfillment of freedom. My friends, we have traveled together through the principles that free a man from anger, from offense, from disturbance. We have spoken of living from the end, of refusing to react, of mastering inner dialogue, of dwelling in silence, and of the art of forgiveness. Tonight we arrive at the culmination, the fulfillment of freedom. Freedom is not a concept. It is not a goal distant in the future. It is not an idea to be admired from afar. Freedom is a state of being, a state of consciousness, and to reach it you must know this. All that binds you exists only in your imagination. All that disturbs you is nothing outside of you. Every insult, every injury, every word of criticism, every act of harm exists only because you imagine it real. So, if you would be free, you must imagine freedom. You must see it, feel it, live it. You must walk in it as though it were already fulfilled. And when you do, you will discover the ultimate truth. The outer world cannot touch you unless you allow it. Consider the man who has mastered silence, who refuses to react, who revises every injury in imagination, who forgives continuously. What can disturb him? What can anger him? He is not merely calm, he is sovereign. The world moves about him, yet he is unmoved. His freedom is absolute. But notice, my friends, that this freedom is not a gift from men or circumstance. It is not found in wealth, in position, in honor, or in praise. All these are but reflections of the inner state. The true liberation comes from within, from your own conscious choice to claim it, to inhabit it, and to persist in it. Imagine the power of this state. You walk among men who rage, who insult, who quarrel. You observe without judgment. You hear words meant to wound, but they pass like smoke through the air. You encounter circumstance meant to provoke, yet you are unmoved. The world cannot reach you, because you no longer exist in the old state that once gave it power. You have left that state behind. You are free. And how does one sustain this freedom? Through persistent assumption, through deliberate imagination, through conscious awareness of being the serene, the unshakable, the sovereign. Every morning as you awaken, remind yourself, I am free, I am serene, I am untouchable. No outer word or deed can disturb me. Carry this into the day. Repeat it as often as necessary, for repetition, grounded in feeling, hardens into fact. Let me tell you a story. A man came to me burdened by constant trials at work. His colleagues criticized him, his boss berated him, and he felt trapped in anger and resentment. I taught him to live from the end. Each night he imagined himself calm, honored, and secure. Each day he reminded himself, I am free. Slowly, the burden lifted. His anger dissipated. His resentment vanished. His colleagues began to treat him with respect. His outer circumstances shifted, only because his inner state had shifted. Freedom fulfilled itself through him. This is the law, my friends. The outer world is always a mirror. Change the inner and the outer must follow. Persist in serenity, and the world must yield to it. Persist in peace, and you become the master of all circumstances. Persist in freedom, and the mirror reflects freedom back. And now, consider the final element, joy. For the fulfillment of freedom is joy. The man who is free from anger, free from disturbance, free from resentment, walks not merely in calmness, but in profound delight. For he no longer fights the world, he no longer suffers at the hands of others, he no longer carries the burdens of yesterday into today. He moves in life as one who knows his sovereignty and celebrates it. Joy arises naturally when freedom is realized. It is not dependent upon circumstance. It is not contingent on praise or recognition. It is born of the recognition that you are whole, you are complete, and nothing outside can take this from you. The outer world may change, it may shift, it may even challenge you, yet your joy remains. It is anchored in being, not in doing. And so, my friends, let me summarize the path we have walked together. First, live from the end. Assume the state you desire, and persist. Second, refuse to react. Withdraw from all provocation, and claim sovereignty. Third, master your inner dialogue. Replace every word of anger, fear, and resentment with words of peace, honor, and calm. Fourth, dwell in silence. Rest in the depths of being, beyond noise, beyond reaction. Fifth, practice forgiveness. Release every offense, revise every wrong, and free yourself from the chains of the past. Do this, and you will find the fulfillment of freedom. You will discover that no man can move you, no circumstance can bind you, and no insult can disturb you. You will walk among men, serene, joyous, sovereign, and fully alive. This is the life I offer you, not in theory, not as philosophy, not as hope for tomorrow, but as reality you may claim today. Begin now, assume now, persist now, walk in freedom, and the world must follow. Remember, my friends, The fulfillment of freedom is not something given to you. It is something you create. It is your gift to yourself. And once you grasp it, once you live it, once you persist in it, nothing can ever take it from you. You are, in every sense, the master of your own being. So I leave you tonight with this charge. Do not seek freedom outside. Do not look to others for approval or permission. Look within, claim it, assume it, live it, persist in it, and in that persistence, the fulfillment is certain. The outer world will reflect the inner. As surely as day follows night, walk in this knowledge, walk in this power, walk in this joy, and you will know, as few men ever know, the true meaning of freedom. For to be free is not to escape the world, it is to rise above it. To be free is not to be without circumstance, it is to be untouched by it. To be free is not to be without men, but to be sovereign among them. This is the culmination, the fulfillment, the ultimate liberation. And when you claim it, my friends, you will never again be disturbed. You will never again be angered. You will never again be shaken. You will walk in the fullness of your own being, sovereign, serene, and infinitely alive. So rise now in imagination, rise in assumption, rise in being, for the fulfillment of freedom is your inheritance, your birthright, and your power. Claim it, live it, persist in it, and nothing in all the world can touch you.